Hello. I wanted to start things a little bit differently today since if you are listening when this is released, we are going through a pretty hard time in the world and there's a lot of pain and fear. And if you are listening to this far in the future, you can probably benefit from this as well. I just thought at the start of every podcast, my guest and I take 5 deep breaths together with our hands on our heart to get centered, to get into our body, to release fear, pain, and anxiety. So if you have been struggling, which I know so many people have, I invite you to place your hand on your heart with Claire and I and just take 5 deep breaths, really connecting to your heart, releasing any fear, anger, anxiety, whatever you may be feeling right now. Just release it and try to tap into that space of love and safety that usually can be found deep inside of us. Here we go. Hey, Claire.
Hey, Lianna. That's
It was,
wonderful.
yeah,
Thank you.
it is. It was pretty funny. Claire and I tried to record yesterday. And she was telling a great story, and it's just going on and
You're
on.
kind to say great. It was not my strongest storytelling. I'll say
And it
that.
was funny because I'm like, I know that this is funny,
Is
and
it? It could be. That's the
it
thing.
could be. There's like
Could be funny.
potential,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
I was like, I
It
don't know
wasn't.
how to speed it up or make it work
Uh-uh.
inside. And we were both just like, at a certain point, Claire just goes, "Is this making any sense?" And I was like,
No.
ish.
Actually,
And
no.
then I was like, I think we're just too tired, like both of us. And we're like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's call it. So we
Yeah.
did, and I'm proud of us. I'm proud of
I'm
us.
proud of us too, because it
And
would have been a miserable episode.
I know. I'm like, it's gonna take a while to get to like the meat and
Woo.
potatoes of this.
If
And
we
I'm
ever.
actually also really glad we did because I had an interesting breakthrough of sorts today, earlier.
Okay.
So
Look at that.
everyone's had breakthroughs. And I know we were saying yesterday, we released a catch up a couple of weeks ago that we actually recorded probably a
A
month or
month
two ago.
plus. Yeah.
So there's been a lot of shifts. And I think we both have some interesting growth that has happened
Oh,
recently. And let's just jump right in
jump
because
right in. Can you
I
talk about
think,
what happened today?
I mean, sure. I know I was going to be like, do you want to talk about what happened to you? But I'll go.
You go.
I've been I just have been in an interesting season of life lately where my lesson over and over again has been boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries.
Yeah.
Say no. Like, don't give so much away. And I recently have had to shed some friendships that I
Yeah.
thought were quite close and good and nourishing. And man, has it shown me a lot of bad habits that have had. And
Yeah.
like this whole trip to Portugal, I mean, move, whatever it
Wow.
is, journey.
Your
Uh,
time in Portugal.
yes, thus far has been really beautiful, but some of the hardest experiences I've had thus
Yeah.
far. And like the end of last year
Yeah.
was not so great for me either. So I feel like I'm like really going through the ringer, but it's been beautiful because it's just presented me, this change, this, leap of faith has presented me with a lot of my deepest fears. And at the end of the summer, they came to fruition a lot around, security and money and work and relationship and all of the enmeshment that happens, especially.
Yeah.
I think, they talk often with love and money being very connected because they both represent
Very connected.
security,
Yeah.
all of this coming to fruition. And so I was going through a challenging breakup and I realized that like someone who I thought was a good friend was causing a lot of angst and
Uh-huh.
just draining a lot of my energy and resources and turning something that was already hard into like a really scary, toxic situation.
Yeah.
And then it was funny too, because I had another friend who I don't have a very big apartment. I'm in a great location. It's not huge. And
Well,
people keep asking to stay with me.
I know. And also, let's just preface, you actually have rooms. I am in a studio, but it is a lot.
It's true. It's true.
But no,
compared to in New York, I would have a big fucking apartment.
You're beyond wealthy.
Yes.
But, and also a note about your place is that
Yes.
you don't even like you don't have a big couch.
No, and it does pull out, but it sort of takes up the entire living room.
Yeah.
And then like I work in here, and like so if someone's here, it's like the entire living room right now is now someone else's bedroom. And like, yes, there's a kitchen that's a tiny room, and then it's my bedroom.
Sure.
You guys, I'm sure really care about this.
No, I don't. I just have to always point out that I live in a room.
You're like, I am in a studio apartment. But in New York City, like that, it is funny that like New York real estate is just
space.
Something else entirely. And it was funny because when I moved in here, I was like, this is perfect. And it is perfect for one person, but it is not perfect for guests. But recovering people pleaser over here always wants to say yes. So I had an old friend asked to stay with me, and they had helped me with some stuff last year. And I was like, of course. But I realized like, I probably can only have really close friends or family stay with me because it's such an energetic drain. I work here. I'm just like way too highly sensitive. It's crazy to say, but I get so exhausted by it. And I could probably manage like 2 nights, 3 at the most. So, and this is someone who I'm not as close to anymore. That is a bit of a drain that, 4 nights I agree to, which was way too many.
That's a lot.
Way too many. And the whole thing was like too much. And
for anyone, that's a lot.
And it was interesting because it came off the tail of this really, really toxic relationship. Me having to put a really crazy boundary down. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize over the course of a couple of months, this person was like poisoning the well against a lot of my like close relationships, and like almost like driving a wedge between me and some other people. And I think it came from a great place, honestly. Like I think it came from like a lot of misguided.
Great place.
I know, maybe great. But I was trying to have so much empathy for people. Like, I think it was like someone really a misguided way of someone trying to protect me.
Misguided. I think it's also a wonderful example of where gossip, like the love of gossip and the love of being involved,
and feeling important. Yeah.
Very much housewife behavior where it's I want to be in the middle of everything, so I'm going to create these situations between them.
And I want to be needed, so I want to be the go-between all these relationships.
Absolutely.
So I'm like slowly being isolated by someone who I think is a good friend, who I've known from before Lisbon. So this is from my previous life. And so here I am like bringing someone into my social spaces who I think I know pretty well. And I realized I did not. And it just ended up being so crazy. And I kept giving the benefit of the doubt, even though I was feeling drained, and I realized I have this problem where like, I'm so open-hearted and I want to see the best in everyone that I will give and give and give and always assume I'm wrong or assume they're coming from a good place. And it came to a head where I literally had to put the strongest boundary I've ever put with a human, like out loud in a bar, angry, like I was in front of other people. I was so ashamed and embarrassed. And it was so funny because the next day I spoke to a friend of mine who was there, and she was like, oh my God, no, you were really brave. You weren't yelling. You were really well spoken.
I am positive it wasn't as bad as you thought. And also, just to confirm, this was happening before the 4-day visit person.
Yeah. Oh, this is previous to that.
This is just before.
Yes, this before. And so I'm realizing how much I overgive and how much I will second guess myself and how much I want to be of service. And then, so this happens, it's exhausting. And then the following weekend, I have an old friend staying with me that isn't as aligned anymore, that I like, don't, I'm like, I don't want to be.
Past lives.
Yeah. Lovely person, just like not in alignment with where I am anymore. Like outgrown each other.
Right.
And it was so interesting because I was, again, so drained, so irritated, so frustrated.
Yeah.
And I came out of it. And it was really interesting too, because simultaneously with this friend who I had staying with me, I met this new person through a group of friends who is a really interesting, almost like just overcome a lot of tragedy in life, really inspiring, and like so much so has been able to turn tragedy into like beautiful lessons and speaking and teaching and all kinds of wonderful, like creating love in the world. I'm simultaneously spending time with this person who's reflecting the light I have back to me and sort of
Yeah.
talking so much about how much power I have that I'm not using or stepping into.
Right.
So it's been this really interesting moment of realizing how much, and today it came to a head because I was sort of processing the weekend where it was like, I do not say no enough.
Yeah.
With my very early and severe abandonment wounds,
Mm-hmm.
I am forever afraid of everyone leaving. And I want to be the most helpful, most pleasant, most useful
Welcoming.
person so people don't go. And
Yeah.
then the thing is too is like one of my innate gift is helping and holding space and listening.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that really loves that too.
Of
But I
course.
had this moment today and from the weekend where it was like, I am so incredibly depleted. Like these back-to-back examples of people who like do not make sense in my life that I've been wanting to maybe say more no to, but because of the goodness of my heart and I know they're good people and they're nice and I want to help, I'm saying yes to at my demise, essentially.
Well, and I don't think you're saying yes to just a landing pad for them, but then it becomes more,
Oh my
right?
God.
Like
It's like an
it's
energy
hard to
vampire.
right. It's hard to say like when someone that is a perfectly pleasant person is like, "Can I hang out or whatever?" You're like, "Absolutely,
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
can."
yeah.
But then it's like from that yes, then it's like, okay, now we're hanging out with all the people. It's like it just kind of
Yeah.
it's a snowball from there.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It's like, I don't love, like, I know it's not that interesting to talk about people that are not present or people you cannot actually speak about. And like, wouldn't it be really fun if I just like was like, and this is this person. And
I know. It's
but
the fun
like,
gossip.
I know, but I'm not
But
here to
everyone
gossip about
knows
people. Yes.
everyone has these people. And so
Right.
just the idea of these
Right.
people in our lives is enough that we can connect to.
And what I realized for the first time in my life today, walking home, voice noting one of my best friends, was that I have not felt permission to honor my needs fully
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
ever in my life. And I burst into tears. I do not know what it's like to have permission to say no when you're tired, to say no thank you when someone needs something from you, to like I knew I was a people pleaser, but I like didn't know. Ooh, this makes me want to cry already. I didn't know how bad it was. Like I don't, and I've been in relationships. Like I'm a serial monogamist for sure, and I've been in relationships basically since I was like a teenager because I had such fear around like one of my root fears is around like not being able to like look after myself and like
Yeah.
there's like this fear of being alone, which is funny because I'm inherently really independent. I love living alone. Like I'm not afraid of
Girl, I
being
get it.
alone, but it's like there I
I don't want
always
to be
felt like
alone.
I needed like a person. Like I never had like my person or something. Like and
I think there's
I
a
don't
difference between being like independent and being alone.
yeah. And I realized that like I don't even know what it's like to just go to bed without thinking about like texting or responding to someone. And I don't know what it's like to wake up without feeling like who should I check in on? And like I just like I'm so exhausted. And I didn't realize how much I've been like over giving my entire life to be able to feel like have love or to feel like someone's going to be there for me. And like
Yeah.
the idea that I can say no and that like I can like, I don't know, prioritize myself first without worrying about what my partner or my best friend. I always have had like one person really close to me that I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Like, how do
Yeah.
I check in? I don't know what it's like to just be like, and right now I know like I'm okay being me. Like, I don't feel like I need a relationship or another person. Like, I don't feel like I need that to be okay. And that was a big deal. That happened this fall. And it happened last
Yeah.
year, actually. And I was in this really great space. And then, of course, like, I attracted in this like very toxic relationship as soon as I'm like, I'm great. And then
Oh, really?
again,
We'll throw a challenge your
right,
way.
right, 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 right. Oh, are you sure you're good? Here, have a narcissist. And I'm like,
Right?
great. And it was interesting because I've known that, but letting go of, the relationship I was in all summer with like someone who truly feels like a best friend,
Yeah.
and like trying to be more intentional about like putting myself first right now, like letting go of that was scary first.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've talked about this on this podcast. Have I? About the hole in the chest, the black hole?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I realized that like I was in this really lovely relationship, but it was not, no one was getting their needs totally met. And I feel like we both had like attachment issues that
Yeah.
allowed us to sort of stay bonded. And we also really just like each other as people. Like, we're good friends. Like, there were a lot of really good things about the relationship, but the nature of the relationship wasn't what anyone wanted.
Right.
Everyone was like bending in the wrong direction.
Right.
And it was really starting to hurt me, and I was really starting to feel dysregulated by it. And I remember one day just really sitting and being like, why can I not let go of this person? And like, what is the challenge? Like, why am I, what's underneath this pull? And I just sat with it, and I realized that like, I sat quietly, and underneath, like when I felt like I unplugged, it almost felt like I was plugged in from my heart to this person. And once I felt like I unplugged, what I was present to was this, like, what felt like this big, dark, gaping hole inside of me that had always been there since I was little. That was fear and loneliness
Yeah.
that I had had glimpses of my entire adult, like since I was like a teenager, that I'd filled with relationships. That was the full reason why I was bulimic, that,
Yeah.
was absolutely related to my acting career. And I was so proud of myself. It was so hard. It was like the first time in my life. And I just felt like my whole life, every time like I grew stronger or did more therapy or whatever, that I would get glimpses of it. And it was the
Hmm.
first time I just sat in it. I feel like I climbed in this hole and like was
Yeah.
like, I've been filling this my whole life, or trying to fill this with the things outside of myself. What if I just fill it with love and I'm the one? And I cried for, I kid you not, 7 hours.
Jesus.
I
Oh, yeah.
literally cried for 7 hours. And it was like, oh my God, like this is like,
Yeah.
if in being able to meet myself here and like fill this void, I am not going to get into toxic relationships. I'm not going to overwork. I'm not going to overgive. I'm going to finally be able to come from a place of wholeness. And it
Yes.
was the hardest, scariest thing I've ever done, and maybe the thing I'm actually most proud of in this life, because
As you should be.
it was the pain, the deep pain that I've been avoiding since childhood, that drove me to have all these behaviors. And in
And
the unraveling, right?
seek like filling it from outside sources.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
in the unraveling of it, it's been really interesting because I'm shedding relationships, and also this like need to be outside and be social and connect and do all these things for all these people is starting to fall away. But it was only today where it was like, oh, it's still like super emotional.
Yeah.
That like the relief that comes with like the permission to care for myself fully and to say no without the fear of everyone just like disappearing is freedom I've never known, and like a love, self-love that I've never known. And I know that, I don't know what this sounds like, judge me if you want, but
No.
but
There are
it's
different
like
issues if you're judging someone for being
but it's just like I'm overwhelmed. And then also it just like breaks my heart that it took me 40 years to get here. And that also that like that I just did so many things and stayed too long and worked too hard and gave too much. And like, I know it's part of why I got sick in my 20s.
Of course.
That, you know, there were so many things I did in so many ways. I've sacrificed myself over and over, and literally my physical and mental well-being, because of because of the fear, because of like the just, yeah, the extreme fear that like no one is going to be there if I'm taking care of me first. Because, you know, as a child, I think one of my, you know, and I obviously don't blame my parents this, because my brain invented this, right? Where it was like, my parents traveled. Sometimes I wasn't always allowed to go. And very early on, my little brain decided that it was, you know, because they were leaving because of me, and I didn't know when they were going to come back. And I learned to have fewer and fewer needs because I could go along more often to things if I was like well behaved. And all of a sudden, very little Lianna learned that like, if as long as you don't have needs, people won't leave you.
You'll be included. You'll be included and wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just keep quiet and just like,
right. Sorry, this is, I think, the most hardest I've cried in the podcast. Good job,
and
us.
let it go. Let it go.
But like, truly, like, it's just so heartbreaking. And like, I've just spent my entire life like trying to, you know, at odds with myself, because there is a part of me that's very strong and independent. It's like, no, I'm going to be an actor. No, I'm going to do this. No, I'm going to do that.
Right.
But at the core, there's just this like afraid little girl who's like, no, it's fine. Like, what do you need from me? Just please don't leave. Yeah. And like, today was the first moment where I like literally was able to like put together all of the pieces and then just like fully give myself permission to like say no and like not overcommit. And I don't know, I'm obviously still very emotional, and it's just like this like fundamental shift on the inside that I've just literally like, you intellectually know these things, right?
Absolutely.
But like, I like emotionally, physically, I didn't believe it. I still didn't believe it.
No.
And now it's the amount of freedom and relief. I just feel really relieved. Good. And I think this is the safest I've ever felt in my body.
Oh,
yeah.
That is huge. Huge. And the shittiest thing about it is you had to go through all these experiences to get there.
I mean, right? Isn't that why we come to Earth School?
I know, right? It's like, God damn it. I mean,
oh my God. Keep going. Hold on. I need to get a tissue so I don't just blubber all over this. Hold that thought.
Pause.
Oh my God, that just made me laugh and think about when I was talking to Dr. Jack after our episode. And he's like, you don't edit this at all. I'm like, oh, no, we're very real here.
They're very real.
I'm like snotting on the podcast.
Like, the only thing I'll edit is the time it took you to get the tissue. There's nothing else in between. That's it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was like, I just don't want to snot all over the microphone.
No. But I mean, talking about, like, you said it just kind of in passing, how being upset that it took you 40 years, right? Yeah. Because I also, you know, so much discovery that I've had in the last year. It's like, Jesus, I'm 46. Like, this is insane. But also, we had to get to this point in order to, like, sure, maybe we could have gotten here earlier with different circumstances, but like, no, we had to play things out.
Yeah.
And that's awesome that we have the opportunity to do that.
Right. It takes what it takes. It takes what it takes. And the more you my first acting teacher ever, Bruce, shout out to Bruce Orenstein's acting workshop.
Yeah, Bruce.
Off of Astor Place. Oh my God. Such warm and fuzzies. He was so great. Is still great.
Yes.
but he would always say, and that was the first time I'd ever heard this because I was like 22, like, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Like, stop being frustrated with your career. But I think it's true for everything. And like, I think about my trajectory and I feel like my whole career is just me trying to be okay, right? Where it's like acting is like, how do I feel seen, heard, and loved? And then my body fell apart. And I was like, oh, I got to go to nutrition. I have to do all these things. All these doctors can't help me. I'm like, it's, my meditation practice, and it continues to evolve into like, how do I feel okay and safe in my body? And yeah, it felt like today was like a really big milestone in my life.
Good.
And I think that's all what we all want, right? Because
yeah,
when we feel safe and whole in our experience, we can then build a life based on what we want and not out of like fear and need.
And
right?
Searching.
Right. And like and looking to fill. And it's just been really interesting too, we're going to get a little woo-woo here. As
my favorite.
As I further go into like my understanding of my body and tapping into things, I realize how sensitive I am. And it's just been really interesting going to a new place, really going through a lot of growth, building community, and then looking at really now it's sort of weeding out people who are all good people, but based on like, do they feel like they come from a place of wholeness and we're like creating together and they're adding to my life? Or does this person come in and they feel like they drain me because they're a little bit empty? Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, we've all been there. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not going to not...
Yeah, we don't all have to be best friends.
No.
Sometimes it's, our paths are at different places and levels. And yeah, if people are still figuring out how to function in one way, maybe it's not time to be friends.
Right. Well, and I even I'm not saying no to those people, but how much time and space can I give to the people who are taking more than they give? Absolutely. And it's funny because I had lunch with a friend today who just came out of a really, really scary relationship dynamic. And she was sort of like, how do I trust myself? We're both like so open-hearted. And it was sort of mirroring this relationship I was a bit in last fall that was not very good for me. And she was like, how did you trust yourself afterwards? Like, how do you trust yourself? And I'm like, the interesting thing, and this is like all of my teachings here. It's like, it comes back to the body. If you notice how you feel when you leave. Like there are some people you leave and you feel like you can do anything and you feel good and you feel peace and you feel calm. And there are other people where you feel drained, you feel anxious. That's enough. It doesn't matter how cool or nice or whatever. That is enough. Just start to tap into that. And I had this really interesting experience at the beginning of the year where I ended up through a random dinner party being introduced to this woman who's this amazing shaman. And she just looked at me and was like, I'm supposed to do these ceremonies for you. And I'm like, you know me. I come from a place of yes. I'll try anything once. I love weird stuff.
You know me. I'm like, absolutely. When do we start?
And she was like a friend of one of my best friends so I was like, okay, I trust this person. Right. And we had a couple of really interesting experiences where she had 5 or 6 different kinds of sessions with me. And once it was this really beautiful meditation where she told me she guided me through this thing into this deep relaxed state. And she was talking about, she was like, listen, there's she kept saying there are energies here to support you today. So ask them for whatever you need. And I'm like, I never know what I believe with any of that stuff, but why not? Right?
Open sure, to why not?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm here, whatever.
It's not going to hurt anything.
She's guiding me through this meditation and I'm feeling anxious and tightness in my heart. So I silently ask, whoever, the energies, whatever. And the beautiful thing is we create what we believe, right? So whether or not there were energies or I just believed there were or something was going to help me, it didn't really matter, right?
And then also for others, it's you ask God.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that same beyond this tangible world.
And the thing is too, is I don't even know what I believe in that moment, but my belief that something's going to happen can cause that, right?
Absolutely.
So I feel so I asked them to release to release the anxiety in my chest. And all of a sudden, boom, my heart opens and I'm flooded with love in my body. And I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting.
I remember when you did this and you were telling me about it.
Yes. It was in January or February.
Yeah.
And then she goes deeper into the meditation, and I'm feeling like tenseness in my body. So I asked like to release the tension in my body, and I get this visual of like every cell in my body lighting up like Christmas lights, and then I feel a sense of relaxation that I've like never experienced. Have I told this story already on the podcast?
I don't think
I'm
so.
sorry
If
if I
you
have.
have, it's been a while.
Okay.
I don't think so though, because
I
I
just
think
had like
that,
deja vu.
well, I probably just from us talking about
That's true.
it.
So all of the cells in my body, I all of a sudden light up like Christmas lights, and then I fall into this deep relaxation state that I just feels like full like bliss in my body. And then I'm noticing that there's like tension and almost like restriction in my brain. Like I can't fully surrender.
Wow.
And so I asked for a third time. And all of a sudden, I just feel like my mind just goes like opens up, and I'm like fully surrendered into this feeling of like peace and bliss. And like it is the most beautiful feeling I've ever experienced. And I sustain it for like 30 minutes. And
Yeah.
all I feel is like the most, it's, I remember in that moment being like, this is why people go into caves and meditate. And this is why people become monks, because it was like this beautiful, it was the most beautiful feeling of love and wholeness and fullness that I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
And I came out of it and I felt like, and I think I'd been at her place for like 4 or 5 hours. She was trying to offer me food. I was like, I felt like I was never going to have to eat again. I felt like I didn't
Wow.
need anything outside of myself. Like I didn't need love or a hug or another more money or achievement or
Right.
anything. It was like I had cultivated this beautiful feeling that was so incredible, that was better than any expression of love or any Sundance red carpet or being on stage
Right.
killing it for an audience or orgasm or anything I'd ever
Right.
experienced. And I just remember the only thing I kept hearing was, this is what you need to teach. Like everything that we are looking for outside of us comes from within, and wholeness, and
Yeah.
everything you are searching, nothing is going to be better than what you can create when you heal and create wholeness inside of yourself. And I feel like I've like had this full circle moment where like today, and of course there's like always more work to do as we expand and grow and there are
Of
new challenges.
course.
But
Yeah.
today it was like, I feel like I'm getting closest to that feeling of safety and bliss in my body than I did to that experience in like January and
Wow.
February.
Okay, good. Good, good,
And
good,
it's
good, good.
like, I was like, didn't realize how much that like big gaping hole still was there and needed to be filled, and was fear and loneliness. And I can say like the feeling of peace and safety that I'm experiencing today is the most I ever have.
Uh, oh, that's warm. That's warm.
So just
My
that,
heart.
just
Just
that,
so like normal day. Just got some coffee.
just that,
Jesus.
just that.
Jesus.
And then the most beautiful, I mean, and here we are, you've been on such a
Boy, oh boy.
journey, such a
Such a
journey.
journey. But I want to bring I want a topic that the whole thing about being people pleaser and show it like
I mean,
living life for someone else. I mean, Jesus, hello.
I know. I was
Um,
thinking about you today and I was like, wow, I always think about Claire and I'm like, oh, wow, she's doing so many things for other people and she shouldn't. I was like, oh, we are the same.
excuse
We are
me.
so the same. I didn't
We're the
realize
same.
how much I'm like, Claire, you got to prioritize yourself. You got to
You
prioritize
have to.
yourself. You have
And
to.
then
What are
you're
you
like,
doing? Learn.
right? And
Oh, is
how
she a mirror in
often,
my life? Is she a mirror in my life?
I know. I'm like, how often when we're talking, I say, I'm just going to tell you what you tell me. Like, I'm truly just in the same conversation, but flipped. And I'm just repeating what you've told me in the past. Yeah, but it's interesting because I'm obviously going very much on this, a similar journey of,
Right.
um, not living my life for other people, like taking steps for myself and living. I think yeah, knowing that I can live my life for me, but
Mm-hmm.
also
Mm-hmm.
still help and love and whatever. But like primary is me.
Mm-hmm.
But something that I have battled with, particularly over the last few years, and this goes back to my old best friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, there's an interesting place of it's hard because it's okay. There's an interesting place when someone is like, I have to do what is right for me. I have to, this is what I need to do, like demanding things that work for you. But then in relationships, friendships, whatever, then the person that you're with, like there's no compromise.
Right.
And I think that there's something very interesting. There's a weird balance there, right? Because it's like, I mean, take yourself out of the situation, right? But it's like, there has to be okay, well, I don't necessarily want to do this, but my partner or my best friend or my friend or whoever really needs this. So I'm going to show up for this.
Yes.
So, but then at some point, you're only showing up for, it's like you have to, and I guess, and it's like a relationship where someone takes more than they give.
Right. Balance.
There's a balance. So there's those moments where it's like you're doing something maybe you don't love. But the point is that then there'll be a chance where you're able to do what you want and the other person is like,
right. There's got to be a push-pull. Of course. You can't just be like, no, and expect to have healthy relationships.
No, exactly.
But it is funny. It's sort of like, if you're a people pleaser, say no more than you say yes. And then it's like, if you're a narcissist, and if you are, you don't know it.
I know, that's a problem.
Say no.
That's a problem.
Say yes more than you say no. But I think it is
and that's so much like taking so much, I had to take myself out of the situation because I couldn't start. I couldn't say no more.
But I think that at the end of the day, right, if you're in relationships where you continue to have to do things that you don't feel aligned with, those are probably not the right relationships, right?
Exactly.
So it's like always being able to check in. And like, if you're a nice, empathetic person and like, this is something that's really important to someone you love, like, of course. But in those situations, it often feels good, even though it's not my favorite thing to do. But, I love Claire and this Claire's show or Claire's thing. Like, I'm going to want to do it because I love Claire. So I think that like, it's okay to, and I think it's okay to put yourself, I think it's always okay to put yourself first. And
it's okay to put yourself first, but also like check in and be like, do I like this person that I care about or this person, like, I don't know. It's like,
I just feel, Right.
I'm trying to figure it out in my life.
Right.
Of like when to say yes and when, like, if it's no big deal for me just to whatever, even though I'm not excited about it, if it brings someone else joy, then I'm like, sure. But there is a limit to that. And I don't know. It's dependent on each situation, but it is.
I think it's okay to feel like if something's not aligned and it's not draining for the most part,
not draining.
To say no. Yeah. To say no, like check in with how you feel in your body. It's okay to say no. And the thing is like, if you forever want to say no to certain things in certain situations, those people will fall away.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I feel like you're coming from your experience of this breakup with a friend. And truly at the end of the day, that person was putting strange selfish boundaries on the thing. And that wasn't a good relationship to be in. So you fell away from it because you should. And that was not a healthy dynamic. So I don't even think that was necessarily wrong and bad because it got you out of an unhealthy situation.
Absolutely. But
I do feel like it's okay to honor what you need. And I think it's okay to only say yes to stuff that's really aligned. And again, if you love someone, some of that stuff is going to be aligned, even if it's not your favorite thing, right?
Correct. But I think it's also very interesting because it's that I'm now thinking of that Jonah Hill, those messages. It's like putting your needs on, like requiring someone else, like your boundaries or saying no. Let's see if I can rephrase that better. Like,
but I think even when someone's doing it, he did that in a more toxic way. That girl got the message that this is not the guy she wants to date.
Right.
I think it's always okay to be authentic to who you are and what you want. And the more authentic you are, the more people are going to be like, this is my person, this is not my person. And yes, was the language around boundaries incorrect for him? I think so. I think he should have just been like, I'm uncomfortable in this relationship and with your behavior, and I want to break up with you.
Not demanding that the behavior change, right?
No, and the thing is, it's like, fine that he did, because that woman was like, you are not my person. Like, and the sooner people show everyone be themselves, because the sooner we all know who you are, we can decide accordingly. Truly.
I know.
Honor yourself, show up and be yourself, and we can run like hell if you're an asshole.
Right? But then there's also that, like, but I want you to understand why I'm leaving. You know what I mean?
But some people will never understand.
They'll never hear it.
Some people will never understand. Like like the friend I just had to take space from, I looked back at like a month and a half of my life that there was so much toxicity, so much twisting of the truth, so much like, I felt like weird trying to isolate me from, like, it kind of scared me after a while.
Yeah.
And when this person I know has talked to some of my other friends, really had no idea they were doing something wrong.
Yeah. And
really felt like they were trying to protect and not meddle. And I think that, like, I truly believe that for this person. And it's wild. It's wild because I'm like, we're both living in completely different realities, and you will never quite understand why I had to put this boundary and like put space between us, because you are just impeding on my boundary over and over and over again. And you're doing it from a place of love and not understanding that my no and no and no and no, it's toxic.
Yes. That's very much.
And it's hard though. It's hard to be able to be like, this is what my experience is. And someone else is like, no, it's not. And you're like, okay, we cannot have a conversation. We cannot have a conversation because you're now negating my reality.
Yes. I mean, that truly was
crazy.
Like the last 3 years of my friendship.
Right. Anyway. It's crazy when that happens.
Yeah.
But
it's fascinating.
No, I stand by it. Even be yourself, honor yourself, really do stuff that is aligned to you, and you will just attract the right people and community in your life. And the more you bend and the more you say yes to stuff that doesn't feel good, you exhaust yourself, you get sick, you get frustrated. Right. Like the amount of time
you feel resentful.
Oh my God. I was feeling very resentful last weekend. And I'm like, I said yes when I should have said no. This is not this person's fault.
Right.
This is me.
That's the thing.
Bad boundaries.
Yes. I found myself feeling very resentful recently. And I was like, okay, why? Why am I feeling resentful towards this person? And then I realized
ex-friend or different friend?
Different friend.
New love friend?
New love friend, which we can discuss.
I feel like everyone should have nicknames so people don't get confused.
I know, right?
No, or we can make them into animals or something.
I love a nickname. Action figures. I realized that I had given with an expectation.
Yes. And we cannot.
We cannot.
Yes.
Because then it's like, if they don't reach this unknown expectation that you put on them, then you resent them. And it's like, whoa. They're not a participant in this.
Right.
Like, and I need to reset.
You're giving from lack, right? You're not giving from wholeness.
Correct.
So that giving is conditional. That giving is taking at the same time. Conditional. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
And like, good on you for noticing. But you had a big breakthrough. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it happened pretty quickly too, which I'm very happy for myself that I was able to be like, hold up, I'm feeling this. Why? Yes. I didn't sit in it for too long.
Yes.
But yeah, I've had multiple. Listen, we're in the age of breakthroughs. Okay,
we really are. Left, right, and center.
Well, I will give an update because the last time we did talk, I was realizing that I had love, like true love at my core for the first time.
Which, again, can we just recognize how beautiful that is?
Beautiful.
And when you were saying last time, you're like, this is what the big deal is about. It's like, my heart burst for that.
Yeah. It was, And I also was saying that I know I'm going down a road of heartache, which
Ding, ding, ding,
Hello.
ding,
Knock,
ding.
knock, knock. I'm home. Okay. So before, I think when we recorded before, it was before I was about to spend a lot of time with this person that I had
Yes, love
fallen,
relationship person.
love relationship. Um, and the time was beautiful and it was chaotic, but I also found myself falling into old habits of
Mm.
like doing more and like putting, like I became obsessed with getting her water on set. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was like day one, I I was just kind of, I was done with the job I needed to do, and I noticed that like she hadn't had any water, so I was like, okay, girl, get your
Caregiving,
water.
caregiving. I want to take care of you.
Caregiving, very much caregiving, and then it just became like an obsession. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I also started using it as just a chance to be close. You know, like I would
Mm-hmm,
go and be
mm-hmm,
like,
mm-hmm.
drink some water, and then how are you?
Conditional
You know,
help.
like
Yep.
absolutely. But then I did start to feel a bit of resentment later because I felt like, wait, I was doing that expecting her like
Yeah. To
to see
notice
that,
and
oh no,
right.
she loves me, you know, like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
to reciprocate by loving you back, you know, when it's like, no, I just need, you know, like
I
chill out.
want, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we had, the other thing is, you know, my challenge always is my worthiness in the world related to how attractive I am, and like
Mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm.
of early modeling and
And you know
acting.
what?
And
You're probably the only woman that feels that
I
way.
think I'm the only woman. I don't think any woman ever has any
No, definitely
body
not.
issues at all.
Mm-mm.
Um, and so I have not been feeling great about my body. And then I started to feel even worse during this
Yeah.
time. And I think
Yes.
it was, I was taking a bit of like the lack of this romantic love, meaning I'm hideous.
Isn't that
So,
so
you
fun how we do that? Isn't
know,
that so fun? We're like, it must mean that I
it
shall kill
must
myself.
be
Right.
because I have a gut like that.
Right.
Like it's like really, really. But anyhow, so fast forward a little bit, the closeness is wonderful. Like
Mm-hmm.
we became closer as dear friends. I felt a bit like tortured that I had
Mm-hmm.
put myself in this situation, right? Of
Yes.
like questioning my worth because I'm fat. Um, like, and then
Mm-hmm.
also being overly caretakery and losing myself a little bit in that. And
Yeah.
then also like just recognizing I don't like this behavior in me.
Yeah.
And then then the week shoot was over. I truly, this is like so embarrassing, but also so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I drove up to Boston, was where I was, and with her. And when I left, I legitimately turned on Indigo Girls and wept. I'm like, you know, I'm
Oh,
like, am I back in high school? Like, what's happening to me? But it was like, I just needed that moment.
I get it. I've
Right.
been
And
watching Gilmore Girls for the past like month
we
every
need
night
those
as
comforts.
a way to
We
just
need
like
them.
feel. I'm like, Rory, Lorelai, what are you doing? Please
What are
make
you
this
doing?
heartache better.
Right. And I also, please know, nothing specific happened where there was a rejection or a whatever. It was like, I wanted a certain thing to play out and it
Right,
didn't play
right.
out. So then,
Well, you
therefore,
realize you put yourself in a situation where you fell in love with someone unavailable,
who's fully unavailable?
who's fully
Absolutely.
unavailable and is never going to be able to show up in how you want them to. And
Yeah.
often, obviously, we do that when we are afraid and we aren't really
Yes.
ready. But
Exactly.
what a beautiful, it's like, oh, it's funny. It's like safe. Like, I know I'm going to be
It's
rejected
so
like that.
safe.
Like, I
It's
know
so
I'm never going to have to
safe.
fully engage in this relationship because this person cannot meet me here.
Right. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I know the comfortable place of being annoyed with myself and using the excuse of someone else to be annoyed, right? Like,
Yeah.
to beat myself up about my weight because
Mm-hmm.
someone doesn't find me desirable or
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
of whatever. And she never said that.
No.
You know,
But
even
it's
though
interesting, right? Like relationships are our biggest teachers, and this new love relationship person has a lot of body image stuff and obsession around
absolutely.
that. So
So
not only are you like in love with this person, but you're in love with this person who reflects
who's
negativity
reflecting
around body to you.
body. Yeah. So the worst part about this whole thing is that after we, got to our respective homes and whatever, she was so tired and exhausted and whatever. And she didn't like, I was checking in, and there were like a couple of days there where we were just chatting and following up. And then she kind of fell off and like
Mm-hmm.
wasn't responding. So there were days where I didn't hear from her. I was so worried about her
Mm.
because first of all, I'm worried about my friend, but also I was like obsessively worried.
Right.
And so I was like, you don't have to respond, but just let me know you're okay. Just like,
Yeah.
because I was so worried she's like spiraling by herself. And she was like, oh, sorry, no, just a bit of a zombie. And then there was like literally a week of her just like feeling so absent. And it's so weird to go from like 24
Every
hours a
day.
day.
Right.
All right. And then to someone like, especially when you feel like you showed up for them a
Mm-hmm.
lot over that time. And then for that person to be like, oh, well, you're not around. I don't need you
Right.
anymore. And so I really was having a hard time. And then I came to terms with what the reality of the situation was,
Mm-hmm.
that I was projecting a lot of this. I was, and she's not available. This isn't a healthy thing that I
Mm-hmm.
necessarily need to, but also acknowledging like how important this situation has been for me
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
open my heart and
Mm-hmm.
to look at those possibilities, but then also know, okay, well, maybe this isn't the healthiest situation for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I had to still tell her, even though I kind of got past I
You
want this to be
realized it was like a not healthy dynamic. You realized she was not
right,
available.
right,
You needed to be honest about
exactly.
to save the relationship.
And I also like, because I do love that friendship. And so I was like, I'm not done with this person as a friend, but I also realized that I deserve more right now.
Yeah,
And I want someone to be obsessed with me.
of course. We all deserve
Right?
someone to be obsessed with us in a healthy way.
Exactly. In a healthy way. But
Right,
like,
not like I want to skin you and wear it.
no, we're not
Not
doing
like I want
that.
to drink your bathwater.
No. Ugh.
I had someone tell me that when I used to bartend. Some guy like leaned over the bar. I was like, I want to throw up. That's so gross.
That makes me. Okay, that's gross. Um, so I realized, okay, this is not a situation that I'm deserving of right now. Like I deserve, someone that actually
Of course.
obviously likes
And
me.
that, I mean, can we talk about growth right there?
Right?
Where you weren't even open to love and you were in a very negative, just friend dynamic that you were
Yeah.
prioritizing like a relationship. And like a couple years later, like you're in more of a romantic situation, being like, wait a minute, this is not good enough for me.
I don't like this. Yeah. Why am I putting myself in this situation? I
It
don't
was
want to.
really beautiful because you were like, I've never seen you spiral this hard.
Oh,
Like
I spiraled
ever.
fucking hard.
Post shoot, I've never seen you spiral this way, which I mean, anyone would in this situation.
Yeah.
And you were like obsessing over those
I
photos, and I was kind of like, Claire.
obsessed.
And I
There
was
was a
really
photo. Can I just say real quick that one photo that got me, and I sent it to like four
with the
people because that's
hands.
how I was like,
I was like,
I
Claire, I
lost
feel
my
like we're
mind.
reading into this too. You did. You lost your whole mind.
Lost.
You lost
There
your
was a.
whole entire
I
mind.
lost my whole mind. Please no. I'm glossing over this. Like I realized, and I'm healthy. Whatever. No, please no. I had a decent week, and I had 2 weeks.
Oh
I'd
yeah,
say 2 weeks
you lost your mind.
that I lost my fucking mind. There was a photo where I noticed, like she
She
was
was in the
next to me.
middle of
She
you,
was
and
in
it was
the
like the love relationship was in the middle. It was like you on one side, other friend on the other side.
other friend on the other side, and it was like we were posing for this photo, so like
Right.
arms around each other, whatever. And I noticed her hand was just like cupping, just like on the friend's hip,
Yeah.
as we're saying there. But then her hand was like barely touching. It was almost like an active
like tried not to touch your hip.
Like choosing not to hold me.
Right.
Right? Just like the edge of her palm was barely touching my hip. And it was like, wait.
I know Claire like zoomed in, screenshotted the hands, sent them to me. And I was like, girl, I think we should not look at these pictures. And I think we need like
to step away from
like, we're going to a dark place. But I was incredibly proud of you because you told me everything and I looked at you and I was like, this person doesn't deserve you or your love. And you heard me. You actually
So that's
heard
the other,
me.
that's
You
the other
actually heard
bearing
me.
the lead. Bearing the lead here, you helped me get out of that.
Well, I mean, I think you did a lot of things, but I was surprised because you were kind of in the spiral and I was like, Claire, like everything you're telling me, there's so much of this that mirrors the negative friendship that you got out of. And so, like this person, you give so much, you have so much to offer. You are so wonderful. You always add value. No one is like, you know what, Claire's here. This is going to be worse. Like you are just not that person, you know? Right. And the fact that like you are giving so much to this person who isn't available, doesn't notice, is take,
right?
Like you're used to. I'm like, someone would be so lucky to have this from you. And I don't know how it got through because sometimes when we're that far spiral, it's hard to hear anything. But we got in there. We got in there
because I think that I was, while I was feeling these things and while I was being obsessive and cuckoo crazy, I also hated that I was there.
Yeah. No, there was a level of self-awareness where you're like,
there was a level. There was an absolute level of self-awareness. And so I think there was something, one of the things, first of all, you said she doesn't deserve you. And that like, I started hearing because I was like, wait, I've done so much fucking work on myself.
Yes.
Why am I putting myself in this situation?
Right,
like I've had so much growth.
Yes,
I want to be loved. I want to be loved.
You're available.
I'm available. And so it's like, well, this is shitty. I hate this. The other thing that you said that really made me snap out of it was I think there's on a level, she knows that you like her. Yeah. And she's taking advantage of that.
Yes.
And she really likes that you like her.
Yes.
And I was like, oh boy, I don't like that at all.
No.
All of a sudden I felt, and I was starting to feel this way, but I felt like the fat nerd in high school, like carrying the books of the hot girl,
right.
I felt so stupid. And which is
not great, but hey, if it gets you out, it gets you out.
It gets you out. But I just felt so stupid not because of that idea of a person is stupid. I felt so stupid because I've done so much fucking work.
Yeah.
And I put myself in this situation and I was like, I don't like any of this. I don't like any of this. So, so the best thing that beyond, I think I was so miserable in this state, you helped propel me out.
Well, I am a good mirror. I'm like,
you are a good
mirror. Do you know what's going on here?
Do you see this? Just pointing out. I still very much had to mourn the possibility, mourn the hope.
Yeah.
But I still love her so much as a person.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't find her attractive anymore. Like obviously that crush, the physical crush is there, but also the emotional needs are bigger. Right. So
you saw something you couldn't unsee.
Yeah, I did.
And when you do that, it's like, it doesn't matter how much you love this person. It's like, they can't give me what I need. And, I'm not going to settle for anything less than I deserve.
Yeah.
And that's hard, but it also breaks a spell. It breaks a spell.
It broke the spell. It did, because it's like, I felt really out of control. I was like, girl, you know better. What's going on? Like, you're a sane individual and you are literally
all of us have those moments where I'm like, I'm going to step out of sanity and make a really strange choice.
A really strange choice that's not necessarily healthy. But so the got to a better place, but I realized that I needed to still tell her that I had fallen for it because I didn't want this to be a secret.
Right.
And I also
that creates
it,
separation.
Yeah. And I also, the idea of her kind of knowing or feeling, I just, in fear of her thinking that I liked her, I wanted to nip that in the bud.
Right. Like, hey, I did, but I don't anymore.
I don't anymore. Like, you don't have to be worried about holding my hip in a photo. You know, like, I'm not going to take that to mean that you're obsessed with me.
Right.
I'll take it to mean that you don't like me at all. Or that my fat.
Oh, stop it.
I know.
Stop
it's
it.
Not healthy.
It's not healthy. It's not good.
So I did, after like over a week and a half, 2+ weeks, we hadn't really, I said, can we FaceTime? Like we had started texting a little bit more, but I was like, hey, can we FaceTime and like have a proper catch up? And so we did have like even when we started talking, I was like, oh yeah, we're back to normal. Like it's fine. It's no big deal. And then for a hot second, I was like, well, maybe I just don't say anything. I got so nervous. And I was like, I don't, like, we're normal. We're fine now. Like, it just was, we just need to reconnect.
Yeah.
And then I was like, bitch, you got to say something. So I did. Of course, I was not coherent. There was like, because I didn't want, it was so hard to not bluntly say it, but also say it clearly. It's like, how do I
was in love with you and it stopped, though. We're fine.
But it stopped. It's totally fine. Like, I started to fall for you.
It's not a big deal, and I don't even like you like that at all anymore.
It's literally no big deal. And because I was saying the way I said it obviously was not very clear, and I was like, I had been fighting for a long time falling for you.
Yeah.
And then I started to, and then it started getting fuzzy, and she was like, wait, sorry, romantically? Like, she was like, wait, what are you saying?
Like, you fell over? Are you okay?
I know. It's like, I don't understand what's happening.
And I was like, yeah.
I know. It was so, I could not, I can't explain to you the number of times I played that conversation in my head. And then when it was happening, I like could not find words or like compose a sentence.
Well, that honestly was probably one of the bravest things you've ever done, though.
Honestly, it was so brave. It was very
brave. That's a very hard conversation to have. Where you're like, whoa, I love this person. It's not appropriate. I want them in my life. I have to be honest. I'm going to have to say a really scary and embarrassing thing and mess up.
It was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. Again, going back to
feelings are embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
Right?
Yeah.
So I finally, I got it out, and I didn't say, I wasn't asking for her to necessarily respond. And I even said at one point, I was like, there was a moment, blah, 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 and you don't have to respond to this. I'm just telling you where I was.
Yeah.
I'm not asking like how you feel. I'm just telling you that I was starting to feel that way. And then when you kind of retreated, it really hurt.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, wait, what am I, what is this dynamic and whatever. Yeah. And so she was very receptive and very kind. And then again, the clearest, I remember we kind of were weaving around. I was weaving around and giving like bits of examples and stories and whatever. And then finally I was like, bottom line, I had a really big crush on you and I don't anymore. She started laughing and I was like, we're good. Like, it's fine. It's whatever. And then she was even saying, like, if you ever feel uncomfortable, because she was talking about how much she appreciated that she loved the friendship and how close we are and all of that. Like, she was very kind. And then she was like, if it's difficult to hear, if it's ever uncomfortable, if I'm talking about dating or relationship, please let me know. Sweet. And I was I thank you. And I'm going to keep tabs on that and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it. I think I'm all good. And then, finally, I was like, if you ever feel uncomfortable, because she was talking about how much she appreciated that she loved the friendship and how close we are and all of that. Like, she was very kind. And then she was like, if it's difficult to hear, if it's ever uncomfortable, if I'm talking about dating or relationship, please let me know. and I knew that I even told you, I need to get to a place where I can laugh about it and
Yeah,
I
of
can make
course.
fun of it. And
Yeah.
so it got to the point, there was a couple days after we had that conversation. And like by the end of the conversation, we were talking about other stuff and it was fine and we were good. I
Mhm.
still felt like my nervous system was on fucking edge after
Yeah.
because I was like, wow, that was such a huge move to
Hmm.
be like, oh, and then
That
I also,
vulnerable.
so vulnerable. And I
Yeah.
also thanked her in the, like, after
Mm.
we kind of got through, like, no, it's no more. I said, but I do want to thank you. And this is when I started crying a little bit because I was trying not to, because I know that sounds not that she doesn't care, but I just wanted to make it clear and not get caught up in
Right,
emotions.
right, right.
Um, and I said, I want to thank you because I truly have not felt that love
How beautiful.
before.
How
And so you
beautiful.
really helped open that up. And
Yeah.
so I do thank you for that. And she was
Yeah.
very receptive and,
Mm.
so that was something that I feel very proud of,
Hmm. Hmm.
is being able to say, you made me feel things. So I thank you for that. But I also know that
Yeah.
this isn't what I had hoped it would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just thank you for helping me get to that step. And
Yeah.
then I'm moving on now,
No,
in
that's
a
so
in a
beautiful
romantic
and
way.
generous. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful and generous. And like, this is a conversation for another time, but like, I've obviously like been having that experience
Yeah.
myself in a different way with it, like a new person in my life where it's like I'm experiencing love that I've never felt,
Yeah.
that is so big and overwhelming and different than anything else I've ever experienced. And it's been kind of challenging because of, I was already in a relationship and,
Right.
again, this is a longer story for another time, but it's been beautiful because she and I have had to have a lot of conversations about this. Oops.
Hmm.
um, and it comes back to every time we have these challenging conversations, it's this moment of like, wow, thank you so much for opening me up to this entire new way of feeling that I had this
Yeah.
one experience of love my whole life. And now again, at 40 years old, I'm experiencing a totally new different feeling. And
Yeah.
though it's been like confusing and challenging and all of the things that we can talk more about in the future, it has been one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. And like to
Yeah.
experience love in a new way
Ah,
at,
unbelievable.
at any moment is so
Yeah.
incredible. And I
It
feel like
is.
it's
And
why we're here, honestly, at the end of the day. I feel like it's
what
why
else are
we're
we here
here.
for? Yeah.
I was like losing my mind a couple weeks ago and ended up like calling because I was like really sad and really like in this like toxic dynamic where I'm hearing all this stuff from my ex-friend
Right.
and trying to get out of this other relationship. And I called one of my dear friends in New York and I just was like sobbing. And I mean, no one's surprised, but truly crying. And
I know, right?
and she was so sweet. She was like, Lianna, we she's like, I sort of hate where society is sometimes now because we all know about like attachment theory and like trauma,
We're the therapy
right?
generation where we
And
know
like
a lot about
she
this.
was like 20, 50 years ago, you could just be in love with someone and it was just love. And now we have to feel
Right.
guilty and we have to be responsible. And she's like, it's okay. Love who you want to love. Love all of the people. Love as hard as you can. There's nothing wrong
Right.
with that. Like, that's why we're here. And she's like, you have such a big heart. Like, I think it's really beautiful and brave. So, like, experience the
Oh,
love and don't ever make yourself wrong for it because that's why
yeah.
we're here. And it's true. I do feel like when we talk about like going back to like primary foods, right? Like our
Right.
purpose, relationships, relationship to ourselves, our body, all that stuff. I don't know. I feel like relationships, at least in my experience, are like the most important one and the thing
Absolutely.
that causes us to grow the much, that forces us to be uncomfortable, that reflects stuff back to us, like
Yeah.
we're all just mirrors for each other, so really check into who's around you and who you're attracted to and what's going on, because every single one of those people is showing you something about you that is
Yes.
either like that you need to own, that is like this beautiful thing that you need to like lean further into, or that is showing you pain that needs to be healed and something to let go of and growth. And like, no one's good or bad. Like your former best friend or my former friend, like no one's good or bad. They're just a teacher. And if we can see them in this way, like it was really interesting. Like I was in this not pretty toxic situationship that I allowed myself to get into last fall because I was people pleasing and not asking for my needs. And we're at this meditation retreat and this person was like laying next to me when I realized like the depth of how bad the situation was. And I was feeling so angry. And then I was like, this has nothing to do with this guy. And everything, like he is just the catalyst for your healing. So if you can detach all of this pain from this person and you can just see that there is a really scared, really needy little girl in you that just needs your love, that was attached to this person for this reason, and he is just a neutral party in this, and he doesn't know that he's bringing out all this pain and frustration, and this is why you're attached to him. It was the most healing situation, because then I could really more like let go of this person and actually look deep underneath into the gaping hole.
Yes,
and start to fill it start to fill the gaping hole. But yeah, if we can just zoom out and not make anyone wrong, and everyone's coming to the situation at their level of healing, at their level of consciousness, and we get to choose who to let in and how to respond, and you know who we need to let go of and how to react to things, and what we take from them, right?
Yeah.
Like, just know they're your teacher. And at a certain point, and I say this all the time because I think it's so insane. I think giving people unsolicited relationship advice might as well be like a form of violence. You do not know what other people need.
I know, but boy, do we all not want to give advice.
Oh my God. Literally,
that's all I
want to, and it's like the most, like you just don't know what other people need. And like, I've been in this.
You can give advice by like asking questions.
I don't think, unless someone's being physically harmed, you can ask if they want your opinion. I don't think trying to give advice, I don't think it's helpful, because people need to learn the lesson on their own. You can tell them the answer, but until they get there, they're never gonna, you know what I mean? You're just gonna be annoyed.
And then you get frustrated because
you're gonna be so frustrated. So
why aren't you doing what I'm telling you to do?
And they're like, I am not asking. I'm not asking.
And also, I need to figure that out on my own.
Well, the thing is, I truly believe that like you are attracted to relationships and situations and whatever. And like you'll get to a point like you did with this person where you're like, this is bad for me. Like you have to get really uncomfortable to learn the lesson. And until you learn the lesson, you're not going to let go of the thing. So you're not going to learn other people's lessons for them. Be a space of listening and only give advice when they ask, unless they're getting physically or mentally abused. What?
First of all, the thing that helped me get out of my funk was you giving me advice.
I just said, but I think that was that advice, or was that me being like, I don't think this person deserves you?
Exactly. I mean,
is that advice? Is that opinion?
Is that advice, or is that just reflecting?
And I would guess, I would guess I might have asked if you wanted my feedback, because I try to do that.
Probably. But also I am open. I was drowning.
And what I was saying to you was like, you deserve better than this. That's not advice. That's me loving you, like pouring love into you and being like,
I just wanted to
you deserve someone. Right. And I feel like that's different, right? For me saying you deserve someone that you know, like loves you back. This person isn't worthy of the amount of love. Look what it's doing to you. Versus, hey, stop liking this person. They're not doing something good to you, right?
No, that's different. I mean, I
feel like there's a little difference there. Different.
Yeah. But then the other thing that I wanted to say was that going back.
I'm like, I would never, Claire. I'm perfect. I would never go against my advice like that.
And I'm not saying that you were just countering, but I just wanted to point out that
you're right.
Your words helped me. And I don't think I came to you specifically asking for help, but I was sharing in the sense that I clearly needed, like I didn't want to be in the feelings that I was feeling. Right.
But I feel like I was just sort of you know,
you were reflecting back what
I was just loving on you. And we're like, this person doesn't seem like they're showing up for you.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it looks like is going on. And I think that you deserve, like, everyone would be really excited. The right person would be so lucky to have your love.
Yeah.
Is that advice? Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm full of shit.
No, you're not full of shit, but I think it's the delivery. I think it's how and the intention behind it.
Yeah.
It's like,
it was a way to, you were really upset, and it was a way for me to try to comfort you.
Absolutely.
And versus, because in that space, if I had been like, Claire, like, you're wrong for loving this person, stop it. You'd be like, fuck off.
Different. Right, exactly. I'd be like, well, I'm not going to talk to you about this.
Right. Where, like, with, the breakup I went through recently, it was a lot of like, block him. He's manipulating you. He's this, he's that. Don't ever talk to him again. And it was like, I need to get to this space. And like, this now just makes me feel bad for loving this person as much as I do.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to shame you for your love. I'm just reflecting back like how beautiful and how much love you have, that it should go into someone who really can hold it. I don't know. I'm just defending myself.
No. I think everything you're saying is justified. I just wanted to point out the closeness of those. Support versus advice. Maybe.
But guys, I'm a professional advice giver, so.
I know, so it's a little bit different. You have different rules.
But no. No, but you're right. And you found it helpful. It's good to point that out.
I found it very helpful. But I also was in a place where I needed help.
I just think at the end of the day, it is good to be like, do you want my reflection? Do you want advice, or do you want me to listen? And trying to do that as much as possible. And I try to do that as well.
That's what I'm trying so hard to do that in situations where I'm like, do you just want to vent? Or like,
like, do you want my feedback, or do you just need a space? Because some people like me, I often just need a space. Like today, I had that breakthrough because I was just voice noting one of my best friends. And like, it was and I am so famous for this, like, all my inner circle of like people that I love, I apologize and thank you so much for allowing space for this. I will sometimes leave the most meandering, like nonsensical, like personal podcasts.
Personal podcasts.
Like 10 minutes long. But like more than once at the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, this is what I'm upset about. And I'm sobbing and I'm like, thank you for the space. Because I am someone who talks things out and gets clarity there, where that's not everyone. And you just need to know like the people, and it's like knowing everyone's love languages.
Right. But that's also what therapy is good for. But anyway, talking.
I would say get a therapist before you do this to all your friends. Guys.
Right. Exactly. Because also we're just like one-sided spewing out. But anywho, I do want to point out, because talking about the relationships being the biggest teachers, and also being able to laugh about having fallen for this person. We were chatting later, like we're all back to normal, to friendship and all good. And
which is such a testament to both of you. That's a big deal.
Right. Which I'm so thrilled about. It was a couple days and then it was like, okay, no, we're back. But she was kind of lamenting over a situation. We were talking about crushes and we were talking about life and relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't bothering me that she was talking about this, but what was bothering me is like from a friend saying, I want these things, but also know that that's not what she's seeking. She's seeking something else, right? It's like going back to the advice or whatever.
Right.
And I said, I was like, I find that for me, oftentimes when I fall for someone or someone that I'm attracted to, it's something that I need to work on. Like there's something there. And she was like, I guess, and whatever. And then I was like, for example, I was like, I'm battling with the worth and my weight and being attractive and whatever. And I recently fell for someone who, in her own words, said that she's like, what's the fucking word? Oh my God. Like, in her own words, called herself superficial.
Oh, okay.
And then I like put these big, we were texting, and so I put like the big eyes and like, ha ha ha. And she was like, wait, me? No. And I was like, no, I'm telling telling you, she was like, no, I was just saying that to you as a friend. I was like, I know. And also that wasn't new information. Like
right.
I was falling for someone who cares a lot about image.
Right.
When I'm dealing with my own image issues.
Right.
And she was like, no. I was like, no, it's fine. I caught that, like I'm okay. But like, I just have to laugh about that. And I'm just pointing out this example. And it happens to be you.
Right. Hey, again, we're always mirrors and teachers for each other.
Absolutely.
And if you're willing to like stay open and listen, you can grow a lot.
You can grow a lot.
So,
and like, I love being able to say that to her so I can laugh about the fact that this is, So anyway.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And like the level of like vulnerability and communication and the fact that you guys were able to have this great relationship afterwards is incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. Absolutely. So with this new information, with this new kind of growth moment for you, what's next? What do you feel like you're looking at or working on or focusing on in terms of love or just in general?
Yeah, I am trying to, I'm really trying to keep up with this vulnerability and openness for love. I have been on Hinge and Field.
Great.
And communicating with people. But, also I feel like my dating app karma is not great because I've been on and off for years and like didn't respond to hundreds of people over the years. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
I don't know. Should we cancel that though? Should we believe that? Or should we just start a new?
It's also, I hear you. I do feel like it is just, it's all about timing. Like I had someone message me last night that hadn't responded in a couple weeks. She was like, sorry, went off the apps. And I was like, that's fine. Well, I'm fine with that. It's all about where this is in our life at the time. It's no big deal. I did have one woman that I responded to months later. And I was like, sorry, just been off. And she was like, I like someone who responds quickly. I was like, okay, take care. And I unmatched. I was like, there has to be an understanding of what this is.
Yeah.
So I do feel like I'm trying to like keep this open and connection. I'm also going out to LA for a week to like work on that community and building. And I'm staying at my ex-crush's place.
Which is full circle.
Which is full circle.
Friends. Good job.
Yeah. And like, she's busy and whatever. So there's going to be a time that I'll be there without her, which I actually would prefer because then that'll just, I don't need to be hanging out with her for a week. No. So anyway, so I'm excited about that. I'm nervous about it because it's a big step in like this move to LA, working on this community. But I am trying to keep open. I'm also thinking about like maybe trying to set up a date or two when I'm out there.
I think that's a great idea. Explore.
To explore. Because I think that this is a big time for me. I've made a big step in my life. I don't want to fall back into like, I can't unsee it now.
No, you won't fall back. That's just impossible. And we're just going to continue to encourage you forward.
Love. So
of course. So, well, once you experience that, right? It's like the new baseline. You're like, no, this is beautiful. I want more.
Also, let me point out real quick before we go. Look at this new necklace that I have.
I love.
We talk about it so many times, and I know this is an audio platform, but this is a kintsugi.
Okay,
it's like an homage to the Japanese art of broken pieces.
Ooh.
And then brought back together with the gold to show the beauty and imperfections. It's black.
Yeah. So there's this to describe it, it's this beautiful black pendant that has gold. A big circle with cracks in it filled in with gold. Like we talk about every time your heart breaks, it just in my mind expands and gets filled with the gold sparkly light, and your capacity for love and empathy grows. And we cracked you open.
It cracked me open. So I saw this and I was
part of the
proceeds go to this kintsugi organization that like helps with,
Oh.
So anyhow, because we talk
things.
about this often, we
We
talk
do.
about broken things.
We do.
And like finally, and we've talked about it so many times without remembering
Naming
the name
it,
of it.
and it's kintsugi. Good.
Kintsugi.
Kintsugi. Great.
Yeah,
great.
it's like KINTSUGI.
Great.
Anyhow, just wanted
beautiful.
to point that out.
Beautiful. Yeah, you can't unsee it. And now it's your new baseline.
It is.
And oh gosh, I thought I had something about that. But then the necklace was too exciting and I forgot. Not at all.
No, I interrupted.
No, it was beautiful.
Well,
it's not important.
Now, with your recent revelation,
yes,
what are your next steps?
I am tired.
Yeah,
I am like, my soul is tired. I'm exhausted, and I didn't realize how I was exhausted by like people I am. So I think it's saying no to a lot, only things that like make me really excited until I feel less tired, and it is until I have my like full creativity, like my creative energy is sort of waned throughout this process and it's starting to come back and I have some great stuff, exciting stuff happening. But it's like, I want to have energy and connection and direction, and you cannot get that when you're tired. So just saying no a lot more and being in my own energy and my own space, but doing it in a powerful way where I don't feel bad about letting people down, because it's just, I cannot believe how much I have just spent my existence worrying about other people. It's so crazy that I had this moment today where I was like, the idea of just like waking up and going to bed without like checking in on like everyone. It's like, how selfish. Like it keeps feeling, all of it feels selfish. So until I can feel empowered and just like only saying yes to what really lights me up and like, taking my own space, like, yeah, it's like I need to, again, I feel like I'm a baby deer where it'd be really easy for me to like go back into like over giving and over committing and at my detriment and at the detriment of like what I have to offer. And so it really is like taking a lot of time to say no, go inward, get quiet, and focus on like what I'm here to do that lights me up the most, and know that when I take care of myself, I'm able to show up for those around me and those that are my clients and that serve me, or I serve, in such a better way. But yeah, it's,
you can't unsee it.
No, it's just learning how to permission to prioritize myself for the first time in my life fully.
Yeah.
So just that.
So small things.
Just that tiny thing, that tiny thing. Guys.
Yeah.
I hope this was a little interesting. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe Claire and I are just having some nasal gazing conversations.
Those are my favorite. Listen, I'm sorry if you don't find me like admitting that I had a major crush on who I thought was the love of my life interesting, then stop it.
If you don't find me ugly crying on my own podcast like some sort of asshole,
fascinating, then go watch a Marvel movie.
Exactly. You want something to explode, don't you? Anyway, we're just going to shame people into liking.
Right? Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Let's really just lead with that. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you got something from this, or you continue to. We have so many exciting guests coming up.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to share them with you all. Like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment.
Absolutely.
If you want.
Share with a friend.
Or just keep living your life, whatever works. We want you to be the best version of you.
And you can listen to this and a Marvel movie.
Exactly. You don't have to. All right. We love you all. Have a fabulous day.
Love you.